What's going on, YouTube? It's Paul Piper back here with you, and tonight we're going to talk a little politics. Specifically, we're going to discuss the recent 180 by President Donald Trump on the issue of immigration amnesty, specifically DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Unique name. And, we'll give you a little background on it and share my thoughts on it. Well, DACA, as some of you may know, was implemented illegally by Barack Hussein Obama back in 2012. He didn't have any support from the American people in Congress. I mean, Congress, you had, Gang 8, and you had all these, Republican in name only rhinos, Marco Rubio and Paul Ryan and all these traitors who, wanted to do this big immigration overhaul, including amnesty, and basically lessen the laws regarding immigration. Well, that was not going to happen. The American people do not want it. They do not want it. They want sensible immigration laws. They want to have borders. Many of them want a physical wall. They want people to be vetted. They don't want to allow everybody in the world, the third world, people who do not want to assimilate, many of whom detest what America actually stands for and our founding. They don't want them here. If you want to come here and you can bring something and contribute to the country, you want to assimilate and become an American, then by and large, I think Americans in the heartland are supportive. If you can bring something to contribute, you don't become a burden on the taxpayer, and you want to assimilate. That's really it. That's what it comes down to. But that's not what these politicians like Barack Obama and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and all these, right, left, Republican, Democrat, that's not what they want. They want basically open the doors and let them all in. And there's different motivations depending on which side of the aisle that you're on. You've got the Republicans like Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, and name them. There's 90% of them fall into that camp of open borders. Now, they'll talk a good game when they're back home trying to get elected, but as soon as they get elected, who are they beholden to? They're donors from corporate America who want cheap labor, so they want open borders. So they don't have to pay people as much. They can produce it here, have their transportation costs and everything minimized, some of their taxes and stuff minimized, but they pay, comparatively peanuts for the labor and the manpower. So that's who the Republicans, and then you got the Democrats. Well, the Democrats want everybody from the third world to come here because why? They want to get elected. Most groups of, immigrants from the third world vote overwhelmingly Democrat. In some cases, as much as like 90%. So they see it, oh man, if we can bring in as many as we can, then we'll win every election, till the end of time. And that's really what the American people, the average American, the average native-born U.S. citizen is up against. And you have nobody standing up for our interests. And again, all we're looking for is a sensible policy, a reasonable policy. We've pretty much had unreasonable, illogical policy for the last 50 years. Or actually, we have, the laws are written sensibly, they're just not enforced. They're not enforced by the executive, going back many, many years. And then you've got, the executives who sign off on these amnesties that grant, citizenship to, huge swaths of people at a time. Reagan back in 1986 was, 350,000 people, and Bush, did it. Name the president. They have all negatively impacted America from that standpoint. And now Donald Trump's falling into it. So he has a dinner with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. What the heck? Why are you trying to, suck up to them? Or I know why. Because you're probably tired of getting attacked by every mainstream media outlet out there, calling you every name that they can come up with. And, you want to come across as a good guy, get some good headlines. But they're just using you. They're just using you. The American people elected you for a reason. You slayed 16 seasoned politicians on the Republican side for one reason. Mainly because we're sick and tired of open borders and our federal government not, watching the gates and just letting everybody in here. We have a country. We have a nation. We are Americans. We are unique in the world, just like other countries are unique. But we are. This whole notion of globalism and multiculturalism, everything is equal and America is nothing but, whatever people inhabit there. No, we have an American culture. We have an American history. It's a shared history. Good, bad, other. But we are Americans. And all we're asking is for our federal government. One of the few things that government was empowered to do is to protect the citizens of the country. Watch the gates, protect it from, invasions by armies, either carrying weapons or suitcases. And they're not doing that, and they haven't been doing it. We basically had no immigration to this country from 1924 to 1965. And then the super radical government in the 60s under LBJ opened the doors big time. And this time to, everybody. And again, it goes back to, that's fine if they come and, apply to be a citizen, they go through the process, they get vetted, and make sure they're documented, that they're going to contribute to the country. They're not going to, get on the dole and be a financial burden to the taxpayers, the citizens of the United States, and they, demonstrate that they're, going to easily assimilate. Then you can have sensible amounts, of those types of individuals, but not the way it's written now, where, DACA, 600 to 900,000. Just people enrolled, ages 15 to 36. This whole notion that they're snot-nosed, little 4-year-olds is complete bullshit. They're not. They're as old as 36 years old. And this is just going back from 2012 when Obama pushed it through. So, they come over, 600 to 900,000, and then Mark Krikorian, his institute, estimated that because the way our laws are written, if they're granted legal status, then they can go over and bring, whoever, family members from their home countries, and the number jumps up to 2 to 4 million. that would be essentially granted amnesty under this program. So, you know, it's a complete betrayal by Trump if this ends up, you know, happening, going through, and they're given amnesty. And I can tell you, he won't win. This is his George Herbert Walker Bush moment of read my lips, no new taxes. This is Trump saying we're going to build a wall, you know, no amnesty. And then he turns around and does something like this with Pelosi and Schumer. He won't get reelected in 2020, and the Republican Party will be done for, probably as early as 2018 elections. So, you know, and there's going to be people who, you know, play their violins and, you know, say, oh, you know, they contribute. Well, okay, let's talk about depressing wages. The average income earned is like $15.30 or something by one of these individuals. So when you look at the median incomes by race, you've got blacks earning about $39,000, Hispanics who are citizens, you know, earning about $47,000, whites about $60,000, and I think Asians are about $80,000. So who's impacted most? Black folks. You know, legal citizens who are Hispanic. They're competing against these people. And what are they doing? If they're getting that job, they're depressing wages, which is good for the, you know, corporations, because they make money. And then, like I said, the Democrats, they get somebody in here who's going to vote for them and vote for their continuing socialist policies and everything that the Democrat Party stands for. And then, what do the you know, the black folks and the, you know, Hispanics do, who are citizens? Said lose their job, don't get a job when they apply for one, have their wages depressed in order to keep a job, and then maybe some of the ones that don't work, they go out and want a handout. And again, that's just one more person who, if he wasn't voting Democrat before, I want a handout, so I'm going to go to Santa Claus, the Democrat politicians, who basically give you your daily bread in exchange for your soul. And that's how it works. And, you know, socialism has taken over the West, Western civilization, and America's no different. You know, we've kind of got a, you know, hybrid capitalism, socialism thing going on, but it's a good 70% socialist. And that's the other argument to, you know, not having open borders. If you don't believe in the nation state, you don't really give a shit about that. You know, the whole idea of open borders in a social welfare state, then you're going to be attracting all these economic migrants, people who come here just to benefit from the system, from the socialism, and contribute very little but consume. So, you know, I always tell people, well, maybe we could have open borders if we didn't have social welfare state. Then, if somebody came here, they're starting off on equal footing, and they can compete and work, and whoever works hardest and, you know, is the best is going to get a job, you know, in a true free market system. But that's not reality either. It's not reality. The notion of a truly free market, you know, capitalist system. We've had crony capitalism for, you know, much of the modern era, or communism, but it's been at least 120 years since America came probably the closest it ever was to free market capitalism. So, yeah, it's going to be a game changer if Trump does go through with it and Republicans, you know, sign off on it. And Democrats will probably win every election for the next couple generations, because the average American, wants sensible immigration policies and wants to maintain the integrity of our borders and the sovereignty of our nation. And I believe in that too. I believe in the nation state. And globalism doesn't work. Globalism just divides and conquers. It's a way for the elite in the world to divide and conquer, and that's all it is. That's all it is. And it just balkanizes people. You look at, that's why they say balkanized. You ever wonder about that? It's because of the situation, geopolitical situation in the Balkans. Historically, you've got all these different groups, different religions, different ethnicities, and different cultures and everything that comes with it, that were so, spread out in this area in southeastern Europe, and they didn't get along. They didn't assimilate. They all separated into their different little groups and, battled for years and years and years. And that's what it does to a country. And America was, very homogeneous for the most part of the last 60 years, ever since, Ted Kennedy and those crooked bastards back in 1965, opened the floodgates. And, like I said, it's not an issue of race or whatever. It's being an American. It's being a white American, a black American, somebody who's legal. What does this do, DACA, who these people were brought here illegally, and if they're granted amnesty, how does that make somebody feel who has been spending a lot of time and money trying to get citizenship the right way, going through the line as our laws currently state, doing their due diligence, doing what they can? What does that say to them? Like, well, if I just would have crossed the border illegally and screwed the American people, maybe I would have lucked out. It's not right. It's not right. So hopefully Trump won't sign on to that. He won't sign his own death warrant, because that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be his death warrant. He'll lose a lot of supporters, and he will not be reelected in 2020. And, maybe we can be reasonable. Like I said, Obama did that. That was unconstitutional. Congress controls writing laws. The executive enforces. So you don't, pass an executive order and circumvent the legislative process and the laws that are currently on the books. His job is to enforce the laws that are on the books. He didn't do it. He wanted amnesty. He couldn't get it, so he does this DACA. That's what Obama did. So, it's time to say, I think Trump was right initially. You got 6 months to do something, Congress, if you can do it, if you want to do it. But other than that, after 6 months, we're enforcing the rules and we're deporting. And that would have put the ball in Congress's court where it should have been from the beginning. But Barack Hussein Obama did whatever the hell he wanted to do and assumed that power, which he didn't have, according to the Constitution and precedent. And that could have, been the resolution. But instead he listens to Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and probably Ivanka and Jared. And, it does a 180. So, anyways, that's the end of the discussion. Wonder if this video will be censored by YouTube. Probably will. But anyway, if you do see it, I thank you for watching it. And until next time, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, I'll see you. It's been Paul Piper. Take care.